She brought bread to the castle and by accident touched the vampire king's son, a cursed prince who hadn't opened his eyes in 50 years. His heartbeat got stronger under her fingers. What the bread delivery girl didn't know was that she had the blood of the witch who cursed him, and waking him up would cost her everything. The storm came with no warning. Lara held the bread basket tightly against her chest, as rain pounded the dirt road into mud. Her old shoes sank with each step, but she kept going. The castle workers needed their bread before nightfall, and she needed the 3 copper coins they would pay her. 3 coins meant dinner for her and her grandmother for 2 days. Lightning split the sky, and for a moment, Silver Isle Castle looked like a dark crown against the mountains. People in the village whispered about that place. They said the vampire king lived there with a son who hadn't opened his eyes in 50 years. They said 1,000 doctors had tried to wake the prince. All of them had failed. Lara didn't believe in curses. She believed in bread, rain, and getting home before dark. You. A guard's voice cut through the storm. "What are you doing out here?" Before Lara could answer, his rough hand grabbed her arm and pulled her through the castle's side door. She stumbled, and her basket flew from her hands, loaves of bread scattered across the cold marble floor. I'm delivering," Lara started, but the guard wasn't listening. "Storm's getting worse. Wait here until it passes." He disappeared down a hallway, leaving her alone in a dim hallway. Lara had never been inside the castle before. Workers usually met her at the kitchen door. This hallway was different, quieter, colder. Candles flickered in silver holders, making shadows that seemed to breathe. The air smelled like old stone and something else. Something like dried flowers and sickness. She bent down to pick up the scattered bread, her hands shaking from cold. That's when she heard it. A heartbeat, not hers. Slower, weaker, coming from behind a heavy wooden door to her left. "Don't be stupid," she told herself. "Pick up the bread and leave." But her feet moved toward the door anyway. It was slightly open, just enough to see inside. The room beyond was huge. A bed sat in the center, covered in dark velvet curtains. And on that bed lay a young man. Lara's breath caught. He was beautiful the way winter mornings are beautiful, pale and untouchable. His skin had a gray color like marble left in shadow. Dark hair spread across the pillow. His chest barely moved. This had to be him. Prince Kale, the sleeping prince everyone whispered about. She should have left. She should have grabbed her bread and run back to the village. Instead, she stepped inside. Up close, he looked even more lifeless. His lips were blue. The veins under his skin looked like dark patterns, like cracks in ice. But somehow she could still hear that faint heartbeat. How could someone live like this? Lara's hand moved without thinking. She reached out and touched his wrist just barely, checking for a pulse the way her grandmother had taught her. His skin was ice cold, but then thump. The heartbeat under her fingers grew stronger. Just slightly, but definitely stronger. Lara pulled her hand back quickly, eyes wide. Prince Kale's chest rose with a deeper breath, and his eyelids twitched. "What have you done?" Lara spun around. A man stood in the doorway, tall and sharp-faced, wearing black robes lined with silver. His eyes were the color of storms, gray and angry. "King Alaric." Lara's voice died in her throat. She'd heard stories about the vampire king's temper. Men had been killed for less than entering the prince's room without permission. I didn't mean. The door was open. Words fell out uselessly, but the king wasn't looking at her. He was staring at his son. "Orin!" he shouted, and within seconds, an old man in doctor's robes rushed in, followed by 3 guards. "My lord," the doctor asked, breathless. "Check him," Alaric commanded. Now the doctor moved to the bedside, placing his fingers on Kale's neck, then his wrist, then pressing an ear to his chest. The old man's eyes got wide. His pulse. The doctor's voice shook. "It's stronger." "I don't understand. How is this possible?" King Alaric's eyes snapped back to Lara. She pressed against the wall, trying to disappear into the stone. "Who are you?" His voice was quieter now, which was somehow worse than shouting. "Lara, sir, my lord, your majesty." She'd never spoken to royalty before. "I deliver bread to the castle. I was just the storm. I didn't touch anything. I swear you touched him." It wasn't a question. Lara's silence was answer enough. The king moved forward in 3 long steps. Lara flinched, but he walked past her to the bed. His hand, careful and gentle, smoothed back his son's hair. 50 years, Alaric whispered. 50 years I've searched 1,000 doctors, witches, potion makers, blood, magic, old spells, prayers to gods I don't believe in. He looked at Lara and she saw something she didn't expect in those storm gray eyes. Hope and a delivery girl finds him by accident. Another breath from Cale. This one even deeper. His fingers twitched against the sheets. Oren. The king said, never taking his eyes off Lara. Prepare the East Wing guest bedroom. The girl stays here tonight. My lord, the doctor sounded uncertain. She's not leaving this castle until I know what she is. Panic flooded Lara's chest. I need to get home. My grandmother, she's expecting me. Your grandmother will be told you're safe. Alaric's tone allowed no argument. Whatever you did, you will do it again. My son needs his voice cracked slightly. He needs to wake up. Lara looked at the prince in the candlelight. She could see color slowly coming back to his face like dawn touching winter frost. What had she done? I'm nobody, she said quietly. Just a village girl. I can't help him. You already did. King Alaric moved to the door, pointing to a guard. Take her to the guest bedroom, give her dry clothes and food, and put someone outside her door. To protect me or to trap me? Lara asked before she could stop herself. The king almost smiled. Almost. Both, he said. As the guards led her away, Lara glanced back one more time. The doctor was checking Prince Cale's signs again, writing notes quickly. And on the bed, the dying prince's chest rose and fell with something that looked almost like life. The storm outside howled against the castle walls, but inside, in a room that had been silent for 50 years, something impossible had just begun. Lara didn't sleep. The guest bedroom was larger than her entire house. The bed had silk sheets that felt too smooth, too cold. Every shadow seemed to watch her. She sat by the window until dawn broke, painting the mountains in shades of gold and purple. A knock came just as the sun fully rose. The king wants to see you, a maid said through the door. Her voice was clipped and unfriendly. Lara had been given a simple gray dress to replace her wet clothes. It was the nicest thing she'd ever worn. But when she entered the hospital room, the servants stared at her like she was dirt they'd tracked inside. King Alaric stood beside his son's bed with Dr. Oren. Both men looked like they hadn't slept either. Tell her, the king said. Oren cleared his throat, his hands holding a notebook filled with messy notes. In 50 years, Prince Cale's heartbeat has never gone above 12 beats per minute. His breathing averaged 3 breaths per minute. He was alive, but barely. We called it the long sleep. The doctor's voice grew stronger and excited. Last night, after you touched him, his heartbeat increased to 30 beats per minute. His breathing improved to 8 breaths per minute. This morning, it's even better. Lara stared at the prince. He did look different, less like a dead body. His skin held a hint of warmth now, a faint pink beneath the gray. I don't understand, she said. Honestly, I didn't do anything special. I just touched his wrist. Do it again, Alaric ordered. Lara's heart pounded. What if I make it worse? You won't. She didn't know how he could be so sure, but she walked to the bed anyway. Up close, she could see Prince Cale's face more clearly. He looked about 20, though she knew he'd been asleep for 5 decades. Time had stopped for him the night the curse took hold. Slowly, carefully, Lara placed her hand over his. The effect was immediate. Cale's breathing deepened. The blue color faded more from his lips, and then his fingers moved just slightly, curling toward her palm like a flower turning toward sunlight. Oren gasped. Incredible. His body recognizes her. Alaric moved closer, his face unreadable. Who are you really? I told you I'm just a delivery girl. Yes, I heard. His eyes narrowed. But delivery girls don't wake dying princes. What's your family name? I don't have one. My parents died when I was small. I only have my grandmother, and she never talks about our family. Lara pulled her hand back, uncomfortable under his stare. I'm nobody important. Nobody important doesn't have magic in their touch. I don't have magic. Frustration leaked into her voice. I can't explain what happened. I wish I could. Before Alaric could respond, a sharp voice cut through the room. Your Majesty, surely you don't believe this peasant girl is special. A woman in expensive burgundy robes swept in. Lady Morgan, one of the king's advisors. Behind her, 2 other nobles whispered to each other, their eyes cold as they looked at Lara. The doctor confirmed what I saw, Alaric said flatly. Then she's using some trick, some village magic to fool you. Lady Morgane's lips curled. Perhaps she even caused the prince's condition to get worse first, so she could appear to heal him. That's not true, Lara protested. Then what's your explanation, girl? Lady Morgane stepped closer, looking down her nose at Lara. Why would a common nothing like you succeed where 1,000 trained healers failed? Lara had no answer. The truth was she had no idea. Enough, Alaric said. Oren, continue watching the prince. Lady Morgan, you're dismissed. The noble woman's face turned red with anger, but she left, taking the other court members with her. Their whispers echoed down the hallway. They hate me, Lara said quietly. They fear you, Alaric corrected. Fear and hate often look the same. He pointed to a chair near the bed. Sit. Stay with him. For how long? As long as it takes. Hours passed. Lara sat in that chair while servants came and went, bringing the king reports, delivering medicine that hadn't worked in 50 years, lighting new candles as old ones burned down. They all stared at her, some curious, most hostile. She felt like a mouse in a room full of cats. But when the room finally emptied, just for a moment, just long enough, Lara leaned closer to the prince. I don't know what I'm supposed to do, she whispered. Everyone thinks I'm special, but I'm not. I'm just scared. She didn't expect an answer. But then Kale's breathing changed. It became softer, calmer, as if her voice calmed something deep inside him, and his eyes. His eyes moved beneath his closed lids. Lara's breath caught. Can you hear me? Another shift. Then slowly, impossibly, his eyelids began to flutter. Lara jumped to her feet. Someone, anyone, but the words died as Kale's eyes opened, just barely, just enough for her to see. They were the color of twilight, deep blue fading into gray. He looked directly at her. His lips moved, making a single silent word. She couldn't hear. Then his eyes closed again, and he was still. But it was enough. 50 years of complete silence, broken by one moment of being awake. When Alaric returned minutes later, Lara was shaking. He opened his eyes, she said. He saw me. The king's hand gripped the bedpost so hard his knuckles went white. What did he say? I don't know. I couldn't hear it. But even as she spoke, Lara realized something strange. That silent word had felt familiar. Like something she should have understood. Like he'd been trying to say a name she'd forgotten. 3 days passed. Lara stayed in the castle, spending hours beside Prince Kale. Each day he got better. His skin grew warmer. His heartbeat steadied. Once she swore she saw his finger twitch when she spoke about her village, but he didn't open his eyes again. The court members grew bolder in their whispers, which they called her deceiver. Lara ate meals alone in Herb's room. Even the servants who brought her food wouldn't meet her eyes. On the 4th morning, a guard took her to the library. The room was huge, filled with old books that smelled like dust and secrets. King Alaric stood before a table covered in open magic books, his face tired and exhausted. You've been researching, Lara said quietly. For 3 nights, he didn't look up. There has to be an explanation. Magic always has rules, patterns, origins. Lara moved closer, glancing at the books. Most were written in languages she didn't recognize, but some had pictures, strange symbols, family trees, drawings of fire and blood. Have you found anything? She asked. Alaric's jaw tightened. Perhaps he pulled forward a leather-covered journal, its pages yellowed and fragile. This belonged to which Seraphine? The one who cursed my family. Lara's skin prickled. How did you get her diary? We found it in the ruins of her home after she died. I've read it 100 times, searching for a way to break the curse. His finger traced the faded handwriting. But I never understood this passage until now. He read aloud. The blood that burns will sleep forever until the child born of sadness returns. She will carry both curse and cure, a mirror to the pain that must continue. A child born of sadness. Lara repeated softly. What does that mean? I thought it was poetry metaphor. Alaric looked at her directly. But what if it was prophecy? Before Lara could respond, Dr. Oren hurried into the library carrying a wooden box. Your Majesty, I've prepared the testing tools as requested. Testing? Lara took a step back. What kind of testing? Your blood? Alaric said bluntly. I need to examine it. Fear shot through her. Why? Because everything supernatural leaves a trace. If you're connected to the curse, your blood will show it. Lara's hands clenched. And if I refuse, then my son continues dying and you remain a prisoner. Alaric's voice softened slightly. I'm not trying to hurt you, girl. I'm trying to understand you. She had no choice. She knew that. Oren prepared a small knife cleaned in alcohol. Just a drop, he said gently. It will only sting for a moment. Lara held out her hand, trying not to shake. But as Oren reached for a glass bottle on the table, his sleeve knocked against a broken cup. The sharp edge cut across Lara's palm before anyone could react. She gasped, pulling her hand back. Blood came up quickly, more than a drop, a bright red line across her skin. "I'm sorry." Oren grabbed a cloth. Alaric had gone completely still. He was staring at her blood where it had dripped onto an open page of Seraphine's diary. The blood began to glow, not brightly, just a faint shimmer, like moonlight on water. The ink on the page beneath it seemed to move, rearranging itself into new words. Impossible. Oren breathed. Alaric leaned closer, reading the new text. His face went pale. "It's her. Seraphine's bloodline." Lara's heart pounded. "What are you talking about? Your blood has the same signature as the curse." Oren was examining the glowing drops with amazement and horror. "The same energy that infected Prince Kale runs through your veins. But it's not poison in you. It's sleeping, waiting." "I don't understand." Lara's voice came out small. "How is that possible?" Alaric looked at her with something like pity. "You're her descendant. Seraphine's blood runs in your veins." The room spun. Lara gripped the table's edge. "No, that can't be true. My grandmother would have told me." "Would she?" Alaric asked quietly. "If she knew her family came from a witch who cursed the royal line, if she knew that connection could get you killed." Lara's mind raced. Her grandmother never spoke about the past, never answered questions about Lara's parents or where they'd come from. She'd always said, "The past is buried for a reason, child. Let it stay that way." "The child born of sadness," Oren murmured, reading the passage again. "Seraphine died in fire, screaming curses. If she had a child before she died, that child would have carried her pain," Alaric finished. "Generation after generation until me," Lara whispered. Alaric closed the diary carefully. "You're not just healing my son. You're completing what Seraphine started. The question is, are you meant to break the curse or finish it?" That night, Lara couldn't sleep again. She lay in the dark, her bandaged hand throbbing. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw things that weren't her memories. Fire. So much fire. A crowd screaming for blood, hands tied to a wooden post. And a man tall, noble, with cold eyes turning away as the flames rose higher. "You chose pride over love," a woman's voice screamed. "So your son will choose nothing at all. He will sleep until sadness itself returns to wake him." Lara woke suddenly, gasping. The voice had been so clear, so full of rage and pain. Seraphine's voice. She looked down at her palm. The cut had stopped bleeding, but in the moonlight she could see something strange beneath her skin. Faint marks like veins of light branching from the wound. They looked like the dark veins on Prince Kale's skin. Mirror images. Curse and cure. Lara pressed her hand to her chest, feeling her own heartbeat racing. Somewhere in this castle, Prince Kale lay sleeping, tied to her by blood and magic and a witch's dying curse. And for the first time, Lara wondered if waking him would save him or destroy them both. "You will stay with him every day, morning until night." King Alaric's command came the next morning. Lara stood in the hospital room, still exhausted from her nightmares of fire and screaming. "But I don't know what to do," she protested weakly. "You don't need to do anything. Just be near him." Alaric looked at this son, and for the first time, Lara saw past the king to the father beneath. Whatever connection you share, it's working. He's stronger every day you're here. So Lara became Prince Kale's constant companion. At first, she simply sat beside his bed, uncomfortable in the silence. The room felt too grand, too cold. But gradually she began to fill the emptiness the only way she knew how, with words. She told him about her village, about the baker who always gave her grandmother extra bread on cold mornings, about the river where children caught fish with their bare hands in summer, about the old oak tree everyone said was 300 years old. "You'd like it there," she said softly one afternoon. "It's simple, quiet. No one expects anything from you except to be yourself." Kale's breathing changed when she spoke, became gentler, more rhythmic, like her voice was a lullaby that eased whatever darkness held him. On the 5th day, his lips curved slightly. Just the ghost of a smile, but it was there. Lara's heart jumped. "Did you? Can you hear me?" No response, but his hand resting on the sheets moved closer to where she sat. She began reading to him after that. The castle library had books she'd never imagined. Stories of distant lands, old heroes, impossible adventures. She stumbled over the difficult words, her village education showing. But she kept reading, and Kale kept responding. Small movements, a finger twitch, a deeper breath. Once when she read about a warrior returning home after a long war, a single tear slid down his cheek. "You're not just asleep, are you?" Lara whispered, touching the tear away. "You're trapped." That night, she sang to him. The old lullabies her grandmother had sung when Lara was small. Simple songs about stars and safety and coming home. Her voice wasn't beautiful, but it was warm and it was real. Cale's eyes moved rapidly beneath his closed lids like he was dreaming. "Sleep now, little one. The darkness fades away." Lara sang softly. "Morning always follows night, and night will follow day." His lips moved, forming soundless words along with hers. He knew the song, but how? The door opened quietly. King Alaric stood in the doorway, his face unreadable. Lara's voice stopped. "Don't stop," he said roughly. "I haven't heard that song in decades." Lara finished the lullaby, her voice barely above a whisper. When the last note faded, Alaric moved to his son's bedside. "His mother used to sing that," the king said quietly before the curse. He didn't finish. "I'd forgotten the words." "I'm sorry," Lara said, not knowing what else to say. "Don't be." Alaric placed a hand on his son's shoulder, a rare gesture of tenderness. "You're giving him back pieces I thought were lost forever." But not everyone saw it that way. In the hallways, the whispers grew louder. Servants stopped talking when Lara passed. Court members glared openly. Lady Morgaine's voice echoed from the council room one evening as Lara walked by. The king kneels before a peasant, while his son wastes away under her spell. She's bewitched them both. Another voice agreed. How else could a common girl succeed where trained doctors failed? Lara pressed herself against the wall, heart pounding. She wanted to scream that she hadn't asked for any of this, that she was just as confused as they were. Instead, she returned to Cale's room and locked the door behind her. "They think I'm using magic on you," she told him. "They think I'm dangerous." Cale's hand moved across the sheets, fingers stretching toward her voice. Lara took his hand gently. His skin was warm now, no longer deathly cold. His pulse beat steady and strong beneath her fingertips. "I'm not, though," she continued. "I'm just here talking to someone who can't talk back." She laughed bitterly. "Maybe I am crazy." Cale's fingers squeezed hers weakly, but on purpose. Lara froze. "You can hear me. You really can hear me." Another squeeze. Stronger this time. Tears burned her eyes. "How long have you been listening?" His hand trembled in hers, and his lips moved. This time sound came with them. Broken. Rough. Barely able to hear. Always. The word was like broken glass. Sharp and painful. His voice hadn't been used in 50 years. Lara pressed his hand to her cheek, crying now. "I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. Promised?" He whispered, the word cracking. "You promised." "What did I promise?" Lara asked desperately. "I don't understand." But Cale had gone still again, exhausted by the effort. His breathing stayed steady, peaceful, but Lara saw something new in his face. Determination. Like something inside him was fighting to wake up, to break free. She stayed with him all night, holding his hand, singing every lullaby she knew. The candles burned low, the moon made patterns across the floor, and somewhere in the castle, in dark corners and jealous hearts, plots were beginning to form, because a peasant girl who could heal a cursed prince with nothing but kindness was either a miracle or a threat that needed to be removed. The dreams grew worse. Every night fire, every night screaming, and every night Lara woke with the taste of smoke in her mouth and tears on her face. She began exploring the castle during the hours when sleep was impossible. The guards had grown used to her presence, and noon stopped her as she wandered the empty hallways in the dead of night. That's how she found the old wing, a section of the castle that had been sealed off, its entrance hidden behind a tapestry. The door wasn't locked, just forgotten. Lara pushed it open, and dust swirled in the moonlight streaming through broken windows. The rooms beyond were ruins, furniture covered in sheets, portraits with faces scratched out, and at the end of a long hallway, a room that made her heart stop. It had been a study once. Books lined the walls, their pages brittle with age, but what caught Lara's attention was the painting above the fireplace. A woman with dark hair and eyes like winter storms, beautiful, fierce, and somehow familiar. Beneath the painting, someone had carved words into the mantel. "Seraphine, beloved and betrayed. You shouldn't be here." Lara spun around. King Alaric stood in the doorway holding a candle. His face was tired, ancient in the flickering light. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to." This was her room, Alaric said quietly, moving inside. Before everything fell apart, Lara looked at the portrait again. She was beautiful. She was brilliant. Alaric stood beside her, staring up at Seraphine's painted face. A healer and plant expert, My great-great-grandfather, King Aldrich, asked her for help when the plague came. She saved hundreds of lives. Then why did she curse your family? Alaric was silent for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was heavy with old shame. Because Aldrich fell in love with her and she with him, he pointed to the room. He gave her these rooms, promised to make her his queen. For 2 years they were inseparable. What happened? Lara asked, though part of her already knew. The nobles found out. They were horrified. A king marrying a commoner, a woman who practiced magic. Alaric's jaw tightened. They threatened rebellion, civil war, so Aldrich had closed his eyes. He chose his throne over her heart. Lara's chest hurt, he left her. Worse. When she wouldn't leave the castle quietly, when she demanded he honor his promises, the nobles accused her of witchcraft, of using dark magic to trick the king. Alaric's voice dropped to a whisper. Aldrich didn't defend her. He let them take her. Let them put her on trial. The dream suddenly made horrible sense. The fire, the screaming, the man turning away. They burned her. Lara breathed. In the village square in front of everyone, Alaric looked at her. Aldrich watched from the castle walls. And as the flames rose, Seraphine spoke her final words, not begging for mercy, but cursing the bloodline that chose pride over love. Lara moved to the desk where journals lay scattered. She opened one carefully, and Seraphine's handwriting flowed across the pages, recipes for medicines, notes on healing plants, and scattered between them. Love letters never sent. Aldrich came to me again tonight. He says he cannot sleep without me near. He says when he is king, things will be different. I want to believe him. Oh gods, I want to believe him. Lara turned pages, watching hope turn to desperation. The nobles know. They're demanding heed this. He swears he won't. He swears his love is stronger than their hate, I'm afraid. And finally, in handwriting that shook with rage, he stood there while they chained me, while they read the charges, while they lit the kindling. He could have stopped it with a word, one word, but he chose a silence, chose his crown. So I choose this. His bloodline will know the pain of loving someone they cannot reach. They will watch their children sleep, unable to wake, unable to live, until sadness itself returns to break what pride has built. Beneath the entry, one final line. I was with child. He doesn't know. Let her carry both my love and my revenge forward. Lara's hands trembled. She was pregnant. We discovered that entry only recently, Alaric admitted. The child survived. A daughter raised in secret by Seraphine's sister. And that daughter had children. And those children had children. He looked at Lara meaningfully. Until you. So I'm here to finish what she started. Lara's voice was hollow. To watch Kale die. To make you suffer the way Aldrich made her suffer. Or, Alaric said carefully, to choose differently than she did. To choose forgiveness over revenge. Lara laughed bitterly. How can I forgive what was done to her? She loved him. She trusted him. Auntie let her burn, I know. Alaric's voice cracked. And Kale has paid for that betrayal every day of his cursed life. A child punished for his ancestors' sins. Lara closed the journal, but Seraphine's words echoed in her mind. The weight of inherited pain pressed down on her shoulders. 50 years of rage, of betrayal, of a love that turned to ash. I don't know what I'm supposed to do, she whispered. Neither do I, Alaric admitted. But I know my son is dying, and you're the only one who can save him. He paused. Or destroy him. The choice was always meant to be yours. He left her alone in that room full of ghosts. Lara sank into a chair, surrounded by Seraphine's things. She could feel the witch's presence here. Her pain soaked into the walls. And underneath it all, she felt something else. A question waiting to be answered. Revenge or mercy, destruction or saving. The curse had been born from betrayed love. The only question was what would break it. Lara returned to Kale's room as dawn broke, exhausted from the night in Seraphine's room. But when she saw him, her tiredness vanished, replaced by cold terror. He was worse. Dark veins crawled across his skin like black lightning, up his neck, across his face, spreading with each hard breath. His skin had turned gray again. The warmth she'd worked so hard to bring back, draining away. No, no, no! Lara grabbed his hand. It was ice cold. Dr. Oren rushed in, his face pale. It started an hour ago. The curse is fighting back. Why? Lara demanded. He was getting better. I don't know. It's like something triggered it. Oren checked Kale's pulse, his face grim. His heartbeat is slowing again. We're losing him. King Alaric appeared in the doorway, and for the first time since Lara had met him. He looked broken. How long does he have? Hours, maybe less. Lara pressed Kale's hand to her cheek. He was slipping away, pulled back into that dark sleep. "Fight," she whispered. "Please fight." But his breathing grew shallower. The dark veins spread further. "There has to be something we can do." Lara looked desperately at Orin and Alaric. "Magic, medicine, anything. I've tried everything," Alaric said quietly. "For 50 years I've tried everything." And suddenly, standing in that room, LaRondre stood. The curse wasn't just magic. It was emotion, rage, betrayal, sadness, frozen into something that fed on itself. Seraphine hadn't just cursed the bloodline. She'd cursed them to feel what she felt. Helpless. Watching someone they loved slip away, unable to reach them, unable to save them. And every day that Alaric carried his ancestors' guilt. Every day he couldn't forgive what had been done. The curse grew stronger. "It's not medicine he needs," Lara said slowly. "It's not magic either." "Then what?" Alaric asked. Lara stood, turning to face the king. "She's still here, Seraphine. Her pain is still alive in this curse. And you?" Her voice grew stronger. "You carry Aldrich's guilt. You've been punishing yourself for what he did for 50 years. I'm not Aldrich, but you've never forgiven him, have you?" Lara stepped closer. "You've hated him for what he did. Hated yourself for having his blood. That guilt, that self-hatred, it feeds the curse. It keeps it alive." Alaric's face twisted. "He let the woman he loved burn. How can I forgive that? Because your son is dying for it." Lara's voice cracked. "Don't you see? The curse feeds on hate and unforgiveness, on sadness that won't let go." Tears streamed down her face. "Your guilt keeps him trapped. I don't know how," Alaric whispered. "I don't know how to let it go." Behind them, Cale gasped, a terrible rattling sound. The dark veins reached his eyes now, spreading like cracks in porcelain. "We're out of time," Orin said urgently. Lara made a decision. "Take him to the rooftop." "Now what?" Alaric stared at her, the highest point of the castle where he can see the sky. Lara's voice shook but held firm. "If we're going to break this curse, it has to be where the air is clear, where there's nothing between him and the moon." They carried Cale up winding staircases through forgotten hallways until they came out onto the castle's highest tower. The night sky stretched infinite above them, stars scattered like diamonds. And there, climbing over the mountains, a lunar eclipse was beginning, the moon slowly turning blood red. Perfect, Lara breathed. Endings and beginnings. They laid Cale on the stone floor. His breathing was barely visible now. The dark veins covered almost every inch of his skin. Lara knelt beside him, then looked up at King Alaric. "I need you to do something. Something harder than any battle you've ever fought. Anything. Forgive him." Lara's voice was gentle now. "Forgive Aldrich. Forgive yourself. Let go of the guilt you've carried. Let go of the hate." Alaric's voice broke. "I can't. He destroyed. He was weak. He was human. He made a terrible choice." Lara took the king's hand, placed it on his son's chest. "But Cale doesn't deserve to pay for it anymore. And neither do you." The eclipse was almost complete. The moon glowed crimson above them. Alaric looked down at his son, at the boy who had slept for 50 years, caught between life and death because of a love betrayed generations ago. And for the first time since the curse began, the king cried. "I'm sorry," he choked out. "Aldrich Seraphine, I'm so sorry for what was done to you, for the choice that never should have been made." His tears fell on Cale's face. "I forgive you. I forgive myself, and I'm begging. Let my son go." The dark veins flickered. Lara placed her hands over Cale's heart and felt something inside her break open. All of Seraphine's pain, all the inherited rage flowing out of her like water from a broken dam. "I forgive you too," she whispered, not knowing if she was talking to Aldrich or Seraphine or the curse itself. "I choose mercy. I choose to let go." The dark veins began to go away slowly at first, then faster. The eclipse reached totality, the moon completely red, and Lara felt her own energy draining away, pulled into the space where the curse had been. The inherited pain was leaving her, but it was taking pieces of her with it. "Lara." Alaric's voice sounded distant. Her vision blurred. Her hands grew cold. She was fading, becoming as thin as morning mist. But beneath her hands, Cale's heart beat stronger, and the last thing she saw before darkness took her was his eyes opening, clear, bright, and finally free. Lara woke in the castle chapel. She didn't remember being carried there. Didn't remember the eclipse ending or the sun rising. Her body felt hollow, like something essential had been carved out and replaced with air. "Easy," Dr. Orin said, helping her sit up. "You collapsed on the rooftop. You've been unconscious for hours, Cale." The name came automatically, though her voice was weak. alive, resting. The dark veins are gone. Oren's eyes were kind. Whatever you did, it worked. The curse is weakening, Lara repeated. Not broken. Oren hesitated. Not yet. He's stable but still asleep. Still trapped, just less so. Lara looked around the chapel. It was a small, quiet space, stone walls lined with candles, a simple altar, stained glass windows making colored light across the floor. Something about this place felt right. Felt necessary. Leave me here, she said softly. The king ordered. Please, Lara met his eyes. I know what I need to do now, but I need to do it alone. Oren studied her face, then nodded slowly. I'll be outside if you need anything. When the door closed, Lara stood on shaking legs. Her body felt strange, lighter somehow, as if gravity had loosened its hold. She moved to the altar where dozens of candles waited in brass holders. She began lighting them one by one, each flame a small prayer, a small release. Words came to her, not from books, not from lessons, but from somewhere deeper. From dreams, from Seraphine's memories woven into her blood. By fire begun, by fire released, Lara whispered, her voice growing stronger with each candle lit. What sadness has bound, let love make peace. The air in the chapel grew warmer. The candle flames bent toward her as if listening. Lara didn't understand what was happening. She only knew it felt right, like finally remembering something she'd always known. The chill returns. The circle closes, she continued, the words flowing naturally now. Let bitter roots give way to roses. Behind her, the chapel door opened. King Alaric entered, supporting Cale between himself and two guards. The prince was awake barely, his eyes half open, his movements weak but on purpose. Insisted, Alaric said quietly. He needs to be here. They helped Cale to a bench near the altar. He looked at Lara, and in his twilight-colored eyes she saw recognition, gratitude, and something else. Something that made her heart ache, though she didn't know why. I'm going to finish this, Lara told them. Whatever happens, don't stop me. She returned to the altar, lighting the final candles until the chapel blazed with golden light. Then she knelt before Cale, taking his cold hands in hers. The words came faster now. Ancient and powerful, blood calls to blood across the years. Love betrayed becomes our tears. But tears can wash away the pain, and sadness can choose to love again. Cale's hands warmed in hers. Color slowly returned to his face. Real color, not the false warmth of fever, but the healthy pink of living flesh. I carry what was never mine, Lara continued, her voice breaking. The witch's rage, the victim's crime. She placed her palm over his heart and felt the curse there, a tangled knot of pain and magic slowly unraveling under her touch. But I am not her. He is not him. Let old wounds heal. Let new life begin. Tears streamed down Lara's face. She could feel it happening. The memories draining away. Not just memories of the curse, but everything. Her name. Her grandmother. The village, the castle. The boy whose life she touched. Everything that made her who she was dissolving like sugar in water. Lara, wait! Alaric started forward, seeing what was happening, but Cale's hand gripped hers tighter. His eyes fully open now, clear and aware, held understanding. He knew what this would cost, and his face said what his voice couldn't. Thank you. I'm sorry. I wish it could be different. The curse breaks here, Lara whispered, her voice fading. The pain released. Let sleep become waking. Let chains become peace. The final word left her lips, and the chapel blazed with light. Every candle flaring brilliant white. The warmth wasn't fire anymore. It was pure release, pure forgiveness, washing away 50 years of inherited suffering. Cale gasped, his back arched. The last traces of dark veins evaporated from his skin like morning dew under sunlight. His chest rose and fell with deep, full breaths, the breathing of someone truly alive. And then he sat up fully, completely. For the first time in 50 years, Prince Cale was awake. Father. His voice was rough from not being used, but strong, real. Alaric made a sound between a laugh and a cry, pulling Hisson into his arms. Yes, I'm here. You're awake. You're finally awake. Cale held his father, but his eyes searched the chapel. They found Lara still kneeling, her hands empty now. He pulled away from Alaric and knelt before her. You kept your promise, he said softly, desperately. You said you wouldn't leave me. You said... Lara looked at him with kind, confused eyes. I'm sorry, she said gently. Do I know you? The words shattered something in Cale's face. You don't remember? Remember what? Lara glanced around the chapel, at the candles, at the king's tear-stained face. I don't. Where am I? How did I get here? Your name, Alaric said urgently, stepping closer. Do you remember your name? Lara frowned, searching for the answer. It felt like reaching into fog. I think her voice grew small. I don't know. Cale took her hands in his voice breaking. You're Lara. You saved my life. You stayed with me. You sang to me. You. He stopped, seeing the complete blankness in her eyes. She'd given everything to break the curse, including herself. I'm sorry, Lara said again, pulling her hands back gently. I don't remember any of that. But even as she spoke, something flickered across her face. Not memory exactly, just a feeling, a warmth that had no source. A sense that something important had just ended, and something else was about to begin. Spring came to the river village, with wild flowers and warm winds. Lara, though she'd had to be told that was her name, ran her small herb shop near the water's edge. The villagers said she'd appeared 6 months ago, confused and alone with no memory of where she'd come from. The local healer, an old woman named Mira, had taken her in and taught her the trade. Lara proved to have a natural gift for it. Plants grew well under her touch. Sick villagers recovered faster when she prepared their remedies. She couldn't explain it, just as she couldn't explain the strange dreams she sometimes had of castles and candlelight and a voice calling her name through darkness. Just dreams, she told herself each morning. Nothing more. Her shop was simple. Dried herbs hanging from the ceiling, clay pots of salves lined on shelves, a small table where Shep prepared medicines. It smelled like lavender and chamomile and earth. She found peace here, even if she couldn't remember ever knowing peace before. The doorbell rang one morning, and Lara looked up from grinding medicinal roots. A young man stood in the doorway, dressed in simple traveler's clothes, good quality but worn, as if he'd been on the road for weeks. He was handsome in an unusual way, with dark hair and eyes the color of twilight. Something about him made her heart skip, though she couldn't say why. Can I help you? She asked, setting down her mortar and pestle. He held out a wilted flower, a night-blooming jasmine, its white petals brown and curling. I was told you might be able to save this. Lara took the flower carefully. It's very sick. Why is it so important? The young man's face was hard to read. It was a gift from someone I can't forget. Something in his voice made her look up sharply. He was watching her with an intensity that should have been uncomfortable, but somehow wasn't. Like he was memorizing her face, like he'd been searching for her across mountains and time. I can try, Lara said softly. But some things, once they start dying, can't be brought all the way back. They become something different instead. Different isn't the same as lost, he replied. She took the jasmine to her work table and began preparing a mixture, water, honey, a medicine she developed that seemed to work on dying plants. Her hands moved with practiced certainty, though part of her felt like she'd done this before in another life. You're very skilled, the young man said, watching her work. Mira taught me well. Lara carefully placed the flower in the mixture. Though sometimes it feels like I already knew how, like I'm just remembering. Maybe you are. She glanced at him. Have we met before? He smiled sadly. In a way, Lara wanted to ask more. But something stopped her. Instead, she said, the flower needs time. Come back tomorrow, I will. He moved toward the door, then paused. Can I ask you something? Of course. Are you happy here? The question surprised her. Lara looked around her small shop, at the herbs and remedies, at the simple life she'd built from nothing. I think so. I don't remember much before coming here. But she touched her chest where her heart beat steady and strong. I feel lighter now, like something heavy that I carried for a very long time finally broke free. The young man's eyes glistened. Good. That's good. He left without giving his name. That night, Lara dreamed of singing, of a voice joining hers in an old lullaby, of hands warming under her touch. She woke with tears on her cheeks and couldn't understand why. The next morning, the young man returned. The jasmine had come back to life, not completely, but enough. New green shoots came from the stem. The petals, while still fragile, had gotten back some of their white color. It's not perfect, Lara admitted, but it's alive. It's fighting. The young man took the flower with careful respect. You once brought life back to something that had forgotten how to live. The words settled over Lara like a familiar song. Her breath caught. Why does that sound like you're not talking about the flower? Maybe I'm not. He reached into his pocket and placed 3 copper coins on her table, far more than the service was worth. That's too much. It's exactly right. He smiled at her, and it was the saddest, most beautiful smile she'd ever seen. Thank you, Lara, for everything. He turned to leave, and sunlight streaming through the window caught his profile. For just a moment, she saw him differently. Not as a traveler, but as someone royal, someone important, someone who had once needed her desperately. Wait, she called. What's your name? He paused in the doorway. Kale. The name echoed in her chest like a bell. Will you come back? Would you want me to? Lara didn't understand the hope in his voice, but she knew her answer. Yes, I think I would. Kale's smile transformed into something genuine, something that held the promise of new beginnings. Then I will as many times as you'll let me. After he left, Lara returned to her work. But when she reached for her mortar, she noticed something strange. On her wrist, where sunlight touched her skin, there was a faint mark like a scar, but glowing softly, like silver thread under morning light. She traced it with her finger, and warmth spread through her. Not memory exactly, just a feeling, a certainty that she'd done something important, something that mattered. And though she couldn't remember the castle, the curse, or the 50 years of sleep she'd helped break, she knew one truth with complete clarity. She had loved someone once, loved them enough to give everything, and maybe in time, she could learn to love them again. Outside, spring continued its work, turning winter's death into new life, transforming endings into beginnings, proving that some things, once broken, could be beautifully remade. The curse was gone, the sadness released, and two souls, freed from the weight of the past, had been given the rarest gift of all, a chance to start over.